number of protons, neutrons, and electrons in a neutral atom. So we will be using the periodic table here in order to gather information to find the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons. We need to understand, though, what protons, neutrons, and electrons are. They are all located within an atom. So here's an image of an atom. We have protons and neutrons. These are the subatomic particles that are in the nucleus. And then we have electrons, which is the subatomic particle that is in the orbitals. So they all have a specific charge and mass. Protons have a charge of +1. And I remember that because proton starts with a P, P for positive. Neutrons are neutral. They don't have a charge. So we just write charge 0. Electrons have a charge of -1. So that is the charge for electrons. And then we have mass. For subatomic particles, we write the mass in the units AMU. The mass of a proton is 1 AMU, and that is the same for a neutron. Electrons have such a small mass that we just say it's 0. So, especially for today, we need to keep in mind the mass. So protons and neutrons have a mass of 1, so everything in the nucleus has a mass of 1 AMU, and then electrons have no mass. So to start, we'll start with hydrogen, a neutral atom of hydrogen. You can find the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons of a neutral atom using the periodic table. So this is the information of hydrogen taken from the periodic table. This number here is the atomic number. So the atomic number tells you the number of protons, and it also tells you the number of electrons. This is a symbol for electrons that we can write. You just put an E and a negative sign since electrons are negative. The atomic number only tells you the number of electrons if it's neutral. For neutral atoms, you know that an atom isn't neutral if you are told to maybe find the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons for maybe hydrogen +1. So this is not neutral because it has a charge. Or another example, iron +3, or any other atom with a charge here. So we're just talking about neutral atoms. This will be saved for another video. So this number down here is called the average atomic mass. So we will also need to use the average atomic mass to find the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons. The average atomic mass is the average of all the different versions of hydrogen. So there are different versions of hydrogen, and that is called isotopes, and the average mass of those is this number down here. So we will need to use that number. So the number of protons plus the number of neutrons equals the atomic mass. And that is because electrons have such a small weight that we just say it is 0. So that is not counted in the atomic mass since the mass of electrons are 0. But protons and neutrons weigh 1. So the number of protons and neutrons must equal the total mass. So in this case, hydrogen has 1 proton because the atomic number is always equal to the number of protons. Since we're just talking about neutral atoms today, the number of electrons is also 1 because the atomic number also equals the number of electrons if it's a neutral atom. And we know that this is we're talking about neutral atoms because there is no charge given. So now we just have the number of neutrons. So I know we have 1 proton plus some amount of neutrons must equal the atomic mass. And we can just round the atomic mass. and say that the mass is 1. This number is very close to 1. So 1 plus the number of neutrons has to be 1. That means we have 0 neutrons. So that is the answer for this problem. We can move on to this. So here we have the atomic number again. That's the number of protons. It's also equal to the number of electrons because we are only talking about neutral atoms. We're not given something like lithium plus 1. So we're not given a charge. So that can be saved for another video. The number of neutrons is, we can find that using the atomic mass. The number of protons plus neutrons equals atomic mass. We need to round this number. It's rounded to 7. So we know we have 3 protons plus some number of neutrons equals 7. That means we must have 4 neutrons. You can subtract 3 on both sides to get neutrons equals 4. And then for silicon, here we have the atomic number again. So that is equal to the protons and electrons. Now we just need to find neutrons using the atomic mass. This number is very close to 28. So that means the number of protons, which is 14, plus the number of neutrons must equal 28. So that means if you subtract 14 on both sides, you have that neutrons is equal to 14. 28 minus 14 is 14. We'll do one more example. So here, atomic number. So that tells us number of protons, 83. And since we're talking about neutral atoms, this also is 83 electrons. It makes sense that the number of protons and electrons will be equal in a neutral atom because protons have a positive charge, electrons have a negative charge. So if you have 83 plus charges and 83 negative charges, then you have no charge, which is a neutral atom. And then this number is really close to 209. So we'll say the number of protons, which is 83, plus the number of neutrons has to equal 209. We can subtract 83 on both sides. And then you will get that the number of neutrons is equal to 209 minus 83, which is 126. Okay, and that is all I have for this video. So please like and subscribe if this video has helped you, and I look forward to creating more chemistry related videos to help you throughout your journey in chemistry.